Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Walk in Faith. This is one of the most important episodes, I think, definitely in NRB, but for my life. I mean, to sit down with Tim Ballard and Eduardo to talk about Sound of Freedom. I mentioned off camera the other day I was with Alejandro and we honored him and I spoke about the movie and how powerful the film is and what it did to me and impacted my life just by watching the 2-hour film. So if you could tell us a little bit about the film and sort of what inspired you to tell your story.
It starts off when I'm a government agent. I spent 12 years as a special agent and undercover operator fighting child crimes, but really being stymied by bureaucracy and jurisdictional limitations. And I got into a real case in Colombia that I was supposed to just kind of consult on and help, but I committed further. And when the U.S. government told me to come home, even though we had a plan to rescue 100 kids, that's a tough place to be in. You know, what do I do if I come home? The case won't happen because I've already made myself the bait. I made myself the kind of central undercover operator, and if I quit, I don't know if I can feed my 6 children. It's one of those times you turn to God and just say, you gotta instruct me here. And I was so confused. I went to my wife. I said, what do we do? And she was pretty clear. She's like, do you think that if you stayed, you could rescue those kids? Yes. She said, well, Jesus told us how he feels about what happens to people who are kids.
Oh yeah.
And it's not good. And I don't know if the millstone thing extends to those who walked away from being able to help them or not. I don't know, maybe.
Hey, I don't want to explore that.
I don't want to know if that. So she basically ended the conversation when she said, I will not let you jeopardize my salvation by not doing this. And that was it. I was like, we're in, let's go.
Wow.
So we jumped into the case and it ended up being the largest rescue that I know of. Today we've grown quite a bit. You know, we have 130 plus employees all over the world, but in this moment it was just a little team, just, you know, and we rescued over 130 women and children. Then it made the news. It was on, Scott Pelley reported in CBS News.
Well, 8 years ago, I met Tim in Los Angeles, and I heard what he just said right now, and I was in shock. I was depressed. I had a crisis even in my faith. There's nothing more evil than what they do to these kids. But then he said, Eduardo, it's very sad. It's horrible. But it's more sad that now that you guys know about this. Everything that I do, it's guided by my faith.
Yes.
And as he said in the beginning, one day I will be answering God. What have you done with the talents that I gave you? How much do you love me and your neighbor? And when I hear God's children are not for sale.
Oh my God, that line.
That was it. That was it for me. Okay, well, you know what? Put pause in everything else that we're doing, Alejandro. Nothing else. Let's concentrate, let's focus on this. I made that promise. I will dedicate my entire life to end child trafficking. I have a weapon of mass instruction and inspiration, filmmaking with Alejandro. Brother, let's make this movie. We're filmmakers. What can we do to end this nightmare? Let's make a movie. What he can do as a federal agent, he can go and rescue children. I can make a movie. You can do an interview and more. You that are listening to me and you know what you can do. Ask God, what can I do? And if everybody asks that question, I have no doubt that together we can end this terrible reality. But first, we need to create a movement so we can put pressure in government. So then this problem, it becomes a priority to be solved. But if this is not, if we're not going to put pressure, I asked him, brother, how come the U.S., with all the money, with the technology, with intelligence, with the army, how come doesn't end this problem?
Exactly.
He answered, because it's not a priority. How can we turn this into priority? We need to create a movement because, Eduardo, I can be the solution for one child. And of course, if we have to work our entire life to save one child, we will do that because you save one child, you save the world. Thank God we have rescued, he said to me, thousands of children. But Eduardo, we're not the solution for the big problem because we have millions of children kidnapped for sexual exploitation. We need to create a movement, and maybe this movie can start that movement, and that's what we're doing. So thank you so much for this space because this is part of the movement. You're part of the movement now.
Listen, years ago we did a story, and I said we went to Manhattan with a madam who was rescued, and she took us around Canal Street with police. And they showed us, there's like tunnels from behind and the hinges that are backwards, and she explained it all. But it was happening right, and we parked, and it was happening right in front of us. And to your point, it's a $150 billion business, right?
Yeah.
So why doesn't the United States step in? And even in the statistics, and you say in the film that the United States is, what do you call it, the number one consumer of the trafficking or sexual, what's the word?
It's the number one
the material
country of child sex, and Mexico is the number one provider.
Yeah, and my wife, she didn't know about it. And to me, I feel like a lot of us, our eyes are closed. You go on Bob's website, right, Goya, and he has the ticker going and all these videos. But you wouldn't know that. Like, nobody knows that. Why isn't that front and center where everybody is talking about what's happening to these children and how it's being done? She told us about a story where they would go in the mall and give a card, and they'd put like a perfume card, and the kids would sniff it, and then they would get them outside and take. I mean, these are things that are happening, but how come they don't talk about it?
A lot of people, they think that this is happening like really far from you, like maybe in Bangladesh or Thailand. It's next door, it's behind your house, it's everywhere, it's growing, it's a global problem. The pain of these children will reach out to all of us, and then we will be living a nightmare that is going to be very hard to wake up. Again, if we don't do something now. Thank God he's doing something, I'm doing something, you're doing something.
Exactly.
It's not enough. It's not enough because we have to do more. But I hope that if everybody do something, we will end this.
How does it work? I mean, in the film you explain it, but let's just say they abduct a child. What's the process? Is it like...
It's different in different places. For the most part, there's kind of cellular in structure. There's even a code amongst thieves, right? Remember, Jeffrey Dahmer goes to jail, gets killed. Even bad guys don't like pedophiles. So they tend to stay small because if they get too big, someone will stop it, right? In fact, some of our best intel has come unofficially through cartels saying, if you guys don't want to do something about this, we will. It's interesting, you know, sometimes the kid's being trafficked and they go home every night. And they're just threatened. It starts in poverty mostly. Like, you know, you see the movie Taken, and people think, look, they asked me, is that real? I said, how the girls are treated and sold, yes. How they're kidnapped, not so much. These guys are businessmen. They're not gonna kick up a bunch of dust around themselves by going and kidnapping a Westerner. I'm not saying it can't happen, but they're gonna go to impoverished areas where you can also find girls and then trick them. You know, boom, their passports are taken, they're sent to another country. There's no recourse for that impoverished family that's living in a village somewhere in Southeast Asia or something, and the girls are gone. And that's how you get to millions of dollars.
And child pornography.
Billions of dollars, yeah. And that's creating the demand.
Yep.
You know, pornography, the sexualization of people. America is getting attacked in ways that almost others aren't.
And sometimes your kid can be kidnapped in your own house.
I know.
You give an iPad or a cell phone, now you're doing your thing, your kid's spending 9-10 hours alone with their phones. You just said it in the last interview how these traffickers, they love that because then they become vulnerable.
Kids online are super vulnerable. You know, first of all, what it does to a brain. Just even if you're just gaming or something, you lose your ability to even reason sometimes. It's the access point. It's the access point for traffickers to get to kids. And so many parents who weren't kids in the digital age have no idea.
Yeah.
They think their kids are playing some, you know, safe game, but they don't know there's a communication board associated.
Oh yeah.
And traffickers who are pretending to be 13-year-old boys are actually 50-year-old pedophiles getting your 12-year-old daughter and luring her eventually out of the house or
and
something.
the profiles there and all the information, so they have that personal connection.
Oh, and they can find so fast. They'll find that kid so fast.
Next thing you know, they're taking pictures from, you know, naked, and God knows where those pictures are right now. You know,
I just executive produced a documentary coming out this year called "It's Happening Right Here." It talks all about the problem in the United States. If one of these guys can get a young girl to take one naked picture, then they use that and they say, "Hey, I've seen this dozens of times. Hey, look, I got the whole your church congregation email list. These nudes are going to all of them unless you continue dancing for me." It's crazy. So these kids can be trafficked right in their own homes, like Eduardo was saying, and parents don't even know it.
Yep.
Because they're being blackmailed. They're being, you know, and it's horrifying. They end up killing themselves often.
That's what I wanted to ask you. So, I mean, there's got to be a lot of trauma.
Oh yeah.
Is there a high suicide rate?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
They don't bounce back.
We have a very, very robust aftercare program. We won't even attempt to rescue unless we know that this kid is going to go to a place that's long-term, lifetime care if necessary, and we provide that as well for them. So some of these kids that we rescued on the island, it's really amazing because that's the first operation. So those kids are just becoming adults, And they're helping Sound of Freedom right now.
Yeah.
We call them the Triple Take Kids because that's the name we called the operation on the island. And they've started their own foundation they call it Tejiendo Sueños, which is weaving dreams. And we fund their projects, and they help each other, peer support. We give them small business loans. One of the little girls who was rescued, the youngest probably on the operation, she just recently briefed the First Lady of Colombia and showed pictures from Sound of Freedom to say, this was me, this is my story, and you need to wake up. One of the trafficking survivors is a boy, been trafficked since he was like 9 or 10. We got him out. He goes into the streets of Cartagena finding trafficking victims.
I mean, the story, it's unbelievable. So I mentioned to you before, we were sitting with Jim and Alejandro having lunch, and Jim was telling me a lot about the stories and how do you cope with what you've experienced, and even you. I mean, you said, you got sick from it. Did Jim call you? I mean, because he's a very emotional, passionate guy. Did he call you at nighttime and talk to you about
all the time.
What he witnessed? I mean,
all the time, yeah. We talk all the time, and it's hard to cope. It's really hard to cope.
You can't, right? I mean,
I mean, the level of like just depression, anxiety that I deal with daily is pretty high, because it's so hard, right? But you get stuck in this catch-22 where it's like, I can't quit either, because that's even more depressing.
Yeah, we're in this forever.
Even if once you see it, once you see it, you can't unsee it, and now you can't stop. It's you can't stop, And you have moments of peace, you have moments of grace, because you're doing God's work, but you just got to think, the peace will come, and maybe in the other life. In the meantime, we're just going to keep going, and you get to a point where you're just, if you have to die in it, you will. You get to that point, you start understanding how soldiers might think
that's exactly what I thought about when I watched that movie.
Yeah, you get to a point. I've got
put yourself in that place, because would I and can I? And I asked Jason Jones that question one time about if they came and they asked you, are you a follower of Christ? Would you be willing to lay your life down? And I think about that, and I thought about that when I watched the movie. Am I strong enough? Will I? Would I? And I put myself in the characters, just in his perspective. To watch Jim too his attachment. And at the end, when he's there and he reunites that family, I put myself in that position. I don't know what if I could. I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I'm grateful. I mean, we're all grateful that you and Alejandro have really, stepped up to tell that story. Unbelievable.
Thank you.
Thank God.
It's how God gives you these opportunities, and you have to obey, right? The character says that in the film.
For us, I see it as an opportunity. I see it as a privilege, to be used by God as an instrument to do something that will rescue children. I mean, what's better than that? We have to take care of these kids who are, living in the streets, homeless. Children are victims of child trafficking. Teenagers who are suffering from addictions. We need to be there. Mothers that are abandoned. Sick people that don't have money to pay for their medicine. Those who were false accused and they're in prison and they cannot imagine 5 years there and you're innocent and no one is saving you. Every life matters. These children, millions of children, that are being raped 10, 15 times a day.
Oh my God.
Their lives matter, and we need to do something about it. And together again,
God bless you.
I'm gonna repeat it again, together, not with just a little bit, I'm gonna do what I can. Do it as if it's your child, the one that is being kidnapped. Don't wait that this tragedy comes to you to wake up. Wake up now.
So now, how can people find out more information and follow you or support Sound of Freedom?
Well, right now we want people to go get the Angel app, download it. It's a free app. You can watch The Chosen while you have it there, right? Amazing series. But right there on the front page, you're going to see there's the chance. Buy tickets.
Yep.
And Angel's opening it up. It's so important to them that don't just buy tickets for you, buy tickets for Pay It Forward. It's a beautiful program. So that's what we're so grateful for, because Angel Studios, they really are movement people. They care. This is not just entertainment and money. Not at all. This is cause. They think about the meeting with their maker, I promise you. And that's why we're so grateful to partner with them.
Yeah. 4th of July, Independence Day, freedom. Let's free the children.
You guys,
together we can end this.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
It's been an honor to meet you guys and talk to you, and we'll support the film. And if there's anything you guys need, please reach out to us.
God bless you, brother.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Right. Guys, hope you enjoyed today's episode of Walk in Faith. Always remember, you have the ability to inspire and evangelize through your words and actions. God bless you.
288. How many kids you found? It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's gonna pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time with a child 5 to 10 times a day. God's children are not for sale.
How long you been doing this?
12 years now.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? Puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
Te lo prometo.
For Homeland Security, you know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
Which means she'll disappear for good. Imagine walking into her room right now, seeing an empty bed. What we do?
You quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
So at this moment, she could be a block down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA. She's a major operator.
It's all rebel territory. No one goes in. Not the army, not the police, not us.
What if this was your daughter?
There's no Marine unit coming.
You're on your own. This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
When God tells you what to do, you cannot hesitate.
An estimated 2 million children are trafficked every year, and we can help them. Sound of Freedom is based on a true story about real-life heroes saving kids from the dark world of child trafficking. We know this is heartbreaking and it hurts to look at, but the first step in helping these children is hearing their story. Not enough people know this problem exists, and even fewer people are willing to do anything about it. Our goal is to inspire 2 million people to attend the film's opening weekend, to represent the 2 million trafficked children around the world. To spread the word, Angel Studios set up a Pay It Forward program where you can pay for someone else's ticket who might not otherwise see it. If the ticket price is stopping you from attending, claim your free ticket at angel.com/freedom. Sound of Freedom opens the week of July 4th. Every parent, every adult, and every teenager in America should be there to see it. If millions of us come together today to see this film, we could propel the movement to help save millions of children around the world. And you can send the message that God's children are no longer for sale.